Welcome to the Downtown, brought to you by Arlington Citizen Media. I am Rody John, and this week we talk to Vanover from the Drone Racing League about their event happening at the Esports Stadium on Saturday, February 4th, along with his other drone businesses. That's a very busy man and a very young man, but very bright future for this kid. Also, we hear local music from Always and Never with their new single, Without You. But first, we hear Hold It Down from Artemis Funk off their EP F5.
Every day you wake up, let me tell you something. If your heart's still beating, then that counts for something. Don't let anyone try to bring you down. If it seems bad, don't jump to conclusions. Only time will tell the winners and the losers. So we need you to stick around. Life isn't made to be feel simple. If you wanna get a lot, you gotta give a little. So you got something to prove to you. When you're throwing hands with your demons, hit them with the right hook and leave them reeling. So don't be scared of nothing at all. Life is tough, don't let it get you down. So roll it up and pass it around. Life is tough, don't let it get you down. So if you're hearing this sound, just know we're here to hold it down.
So if your story ain't the cover of a magazine, and unemployment and the devil make you want to scream, and all the pots of gold and money trees got tripped dry. Well, listen closely, 'cause this song is written just for you. When the day-to-day news got you feeling blue, get up out of your bed, get up in this groove, 'cause we put them happy feelings right up in your shoe.
And life is tough, don't let it get you down.
Life is tough, don't let it get you down.
So roll it up and pass it around.
So roll it up and pass it around.
Life is tough, don't let it get you down.
So if you're hearing this sound, just know we're here
to hold it down.
I am here with Vanover. He is the drone racing champion from 2019. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So the Drone Race League, the Sim Live, is happening at Esports Stadium on Saturday, February 4th. What can people look forward to?
Well, I think people can look forward to probably one of the coolest sports that they've ever seen. Drone racing is unlike anything else because it's very three-dimensional. We're flying these drones in these crazy environments that looks like something out of the future. And that's what makes drone racing so much more unique compared to other emerging sports right now. And you can expect a lot of really stiff competition, some rivalries between the pilots, and just overall a great time, honestly.
No, it's true. I mean, it came on my radar, no pun intended, when it just popped up on TV one day. I was like, what is going on here? And I was like, oh, this is drone racing. This is awesome. And then I've been watching more videos recently about, and then like seeing the how the fans are super into it. And like, I've been to a bunch of esports events, and I completely understand where people can also get very hyped involved in that as well. But at the same time, it's still two-dimensional. And like you said, this is three-dimensional. You're actually watching and feeling and hearing the drones whiz by you or, fly in front of you. And, the different courses that y'all have to go through is so much fun to watch because you're also, as a fan, like, is he going to be able to do it? Or how is this guy going to come out, from behind to win? And so, I mean, I guess, how did you get into drones to begin with?
Yeah, so I got into flying remote control airplanes and RC helicopters quite a while before I ever started flying FPV drones. So I did it since I was 10 years old, just building and flying stuff. And then eventually, as the hobby progressed and I got older, drones back in like 2015 started to become a little bit more popular. And that was just a part of the hobby that I wanted to kind of dip my toes into. And I never thought anything of it as sport or something that I would do for the rest of my life, but it was just something that I did for fun. And one day I was watching Drone Racing League on television with my dad, and I remember seeing drone racing for the first time and seeing this not just sport around drones, but this like really competitive sport. And I told my dad that that's what I wanted to do because I'm a very competitive person and I love to fly, and I've been flying for a lot longer than a lot of the other guys have. And so I just kind of made it my goal to be a drone racing pilot. I looked up how to get into it. I found some local drone events to go to. And through the years, I worked my way through the local systems, the national level, won a national championship in 2017. And then that kind of got me on the radar with DRL. And then when I was old enough, and when everything worked out in 2019, I was invited to be a part of the Drone Racing League. And the rest is history.
I mean, literal history, because you were the only rookie who became champion your debut season with the DRL. How awesome was that feeling, and how was it, I guess, being a challenger since then?
I mean, it was such an honor to just get into DRL when I did. But once I was there, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about one goal, and that was being the world champion. I knew that if I worked harder than everyone else, then I had the skill set to beat everyone else. And that was my mentality that season. So if I failed, if I lost races, I told myself that it's because I didn't work hard enough, and that just drove me to work harder and harder. And because I didn't want to just win the season by just barely squeaking it out, I really wanted to put on a statement that year. And I'm very thankful that I set a lot of records my rookie season, winning 3 levels, almost half of the races, just always being in contention no matter what. It was just a result of hard work and dedication. And now it's a bit different because, since then, that was my opening season, and that was, a dream accomplished for me. And now the competition level is even more stiff than it was back in 2019, and times have changed a little bit. We have the addition of the sim racing as part of the season at the moment, and so that's its own separate challenge. A lot of the new competition, they grew up flying the simulators, and then they transitioned to the real drone, where I always was the real never had simulators to train 12, 13 years ago. So for me, I'm kind of having to go back to the basics when it comes to the simulator racing, and that's kind of building my skills from the ground up. But when it comes to the real life part of the racing, I'm still just as and wins here in the future, and hopefully that one in Dallas, the sports arena in Arlington.
Right. Yes, Arlington. Yeah, it's okay. A lot of people do that. Well, I mean, you're from the DFW area. Where exactly in the DFW area did you grow up?
I grew up in Coppell. Grew up there for about 10 years. That's where I kind of started flying remote control airplanes. And then we moved out towards the Trophy Club Roanoke area. And then I actually grew up a little bit on an airport for about 8 years. I say a little bit, about 8 years of my life. And that was a really interesting experience in itself because it's not the typical way that a teenager grows up, living on an airport. But, my stepdad was a pilot, and my mom knew I had an interest in aviation. So, she decided that, it would be great for me to be exposed to aviation at a young age, get started early. And the airport owners would let me fly drones, let me fly remote control airplanes and stuff. So it was perfect. And I think that growing up on an airport around older people too really kind of helped mature me and helped me create a very strong competitive mindset when it came to, when I got into the drone racing league and started competing for world championships.
Right. I mean, plus people probably don't think about it, but you living on that airport, like you gained more knowledge, not even flying a plane, that by the time you probably did start flying a plane, it started making and clicking and making more sense to you that you're probably more advanced than people that were just coming out of, let's say, pilot school.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I got my license when I was 17 years old, and most people, if they go to get their pilot's license, right, they usually have about 40 to 60 hours of flying time. Well, I had almost 200 hours and that was just a long time. And that was because I'd been flying since I was 10 years old behind the controls. And so for me, getting the pilot's license was, for the most part, a walk in the park, at least when it came to the flying portion. So, yeah, I'm very thankful for that. And, a lot of the pilots that I would go fly with on like Saturday mornings and whatnot were retired military pilots. So they weren't just really good pilots who could share their knowledge with me, as you were kind of pointing out too, but they could also share their life knowledge with me and what gave them success. And I think to a 12-year-old, that was a lot to take in at times. It didn't quite make sense, but as I got older, a lot of the things that they kind of taught me and helped me guide in really started to make sense to me. And so I love it. I love the fact that I grew up on an airport. I even got my pilot's license before I got my driver's license. So that's something that most teenagers probably can't say. But
yeah,
it was cool for me.
A little backward for most people there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Now, being from the DFW area, how amazing is it going to be to have home field advantage?
It's going to be super amazing. It is going to be a lot of pressure being at kind of like home court, but I love pressure, and pressure motivates me and drives me to fly better, and to be more consistent, and to make sure that the people who come out to watch me fly, I don't let down. Of course, anything can happen in drone racing. That's just part of this sport. It's not like other sports where it's very predictable, and then you occasionally get that crazy play on the field. With drone racing, it is a very unpredictable sport because we're flying on the edge the entire time with these drones. So all it takes is just one tiny little mistake, and then that can take you out of a race. But for me, being on DFW, it's more of a dream come true than anything. I'm not too worried about the pressure. I'm just excited that a lot of my family and friends who have supported me my entire life in this sport are getting to come out and watch me race, and that's super duper exciting to me. And the venue too in Arlington I've been to before, and it is just an absolutely crazy venue. And I think it's going to really propel the sim racing part of DRL to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, that venue it's so amazing. I remember, when I was growing up, it was the convention center, and now it's an Esports Stadium. And being in there for the first time when I saw the stage, I was like, wow, that is super cool, because it's larger than life. It's almost, like a rock concert stage that you can step on to really show your skills off. And I'm very, very interested in how they're going to lay it out for the drone racing itself.
Yeah, so absolutely. I'm excited, and I'm excited to see that unveiled firsthand.
Yeah. So you're not only a great pilot, you're also a businessman, being the founder of Vanny Style and working with Lightcraft as their cinema pilot. Can you tell us about these companies and how they came to be?
Yeah, I'll start with Vanny Style. So I also fly what's called freestyle, tongue twisters, on the side. Before I actually got into racing, when I was just flying drones around for fun, I liked doing tricks and kind of making these cool lines in the air. I grew up around a lot of airshow pilots, so they always had routines. And so for me, I thought that was cool to fly with drones. And then, freestyle is also a growing part of this industry that I think is probably, to a lot of people, more popular than the racing is at the moment, because when they get into flying, they see the pilots on DRL. They think it's a little too much for them to be able to achieve, and so they just kind of stick to doing freestyle. So it's a big part of the drone space as a whole, and it's something that I enjoy. A lot of racers, they kind of just stick to racing, and same with freestyle pilots. I like to dabble in both. And Vanny style, my last name's Vanover, and one of the pilots who used to race in DRL, two-time world champion Jet, he also works at Lightcraft with me. And one day when we were racing in DRL, he just started calling me Vanny. Like, it was just kind of like the short nickname, and it kind of stuck. I didn't mind it at all. And then we thought, how are we going to trademark the style of flying that I do, which is very smooth, very calculated. And we just decided to call it Vanny style. And then all these years later, I decided to release my own product line of drone stuff. And so I started with drone frames, and I'm slowly building off of that. But I wanted to create a brand that was centered around this gear that I fly, and hopefully providing a great experience for those who are getting into the hobby, and also those who have been in the hobby for a long time, and they want premium gear, and they want it to be backed by a top pilot who's actually put the time and effort in. And so that's what Vanny style is. And then Lightcraft, after I won the 2019 World Championship, I started getting tons and tons of messages from a lot of people out in LA, actually, asking if I would come out and fly like a super expensive camera on a drone. They needed a pilot who they could trust, and I guess what better than the current world champion of drone racing. And so during COVID, actually, I started flying out to LA a lot and started working with Lightcraft on these drone projects that eventually got us on a Michael Bay movie called Ambulance that was a really awesome movie, really showcased what FPV drones can really do in Hollywood for the first time. And then since then, it's kind of been nonstop between doing DRL, between my brand Vanny style, and then filming. It's kind of a crazy schedule, and it's partially why I moved out to LA, although it won't be hopefully permanent. It's just kind of temporary right now, just to kind of help build up Lightcraft. It's been great being out here, but yeah, my wife and I, we do also certainly look forward to going back home, and every chance we can get, we try and go back.
No, I mean, I understand that. I'll actually be out in LA at the end of March, and it's a wonderful city. I can't imagine myself living there. That traffic is not fun. It's worse than Houston, if people from Texas can understand that. Yeah. But it is beautiful out there, and like you said, you're helping building your craft and that brand word that everybody loves to use as well. So you're building it, so that's a good thing that you're out there. But again, like you said, it's not forever.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So when you're shooting footage with your drone, you're obviously worried more about the shot. When you're racing, you're obviously more worried about winning. How do you mentally prepare for both, and how have you learned to separate when you are doing shooting as opposed to racing?
That's a great question. The difference between the two is, honestly, there really isn't much of a difference between the two. I actually feel more pressure when I am out there on a big set, and then there's like this one shot that needs to be done, and there's 300 people in the background who are all been put in their exact place at the right time, and then when the drone takes off, the camera is fixed to the drone, so it's all on me to make sure it looks good. So there's a lot of pressure there, and I'm thankful that actually through racing for world championships in DRL and preparing myself mentally, that it's kind of helped me in these big film shoots that I've done. But really, for me, the same goes for if I'm racing for a world championship title, and it comes down to a certain race is on the line, or if it's for this shot. I just do a lot of breathing, and I continually like to tell myself to focus and not let the distractions bother me. On film sets, there's a lot of moving pieces, so that can be very distracting, and that can distract you from what you need to be doing. And then in racing, it's very easy to get distracted by the other pilots because, they like to make a lot of noise, and because for them that can be their only way to win. And it's very easy to let that get in your head. So for me, I just tell myself, focus on what you need to do. Don't worry about what anyone else is going to do. In a circle of influence, I have drawn on my wall. I write inside the circle all the things that are in my control, and then the things on the outside of the circle are things not in my control. And I look at that all the time, and it reminds myself when I'm in these situations that I can only focus on what I can control. And that's how I prepare to, win a world championship race. That's how I prepare when there's a big, shot on set and there's a lot of pressure. And I also don't predict the outcome in my head. I used to do that where I'm like, yes, I know I'm going to win this race. I'm going to be the world champion. Or I'm going to get this shot and it's going to elevate me. I kind of stopped with that mentality because oftentimes things don't go well. It's just that much more disappointing. But also those things can be distractions from what you need to do right now. So don't celebrate until it's actually happened. So I just focus on what I need to do well. And, that's worked out very well for me the last couple of years.
That's an amazing mindset to have, especially with the things you can control and things you cannot control. Everybody can implement that in their life, whether it be, their job or their home, their whatever, even driving. As we mentioned earlier, traffic can be definitely lead to road rage, and people lose their minds when they come to that. But putting it into focus and realizing I can't control this at the moment, I can't control other people's driving, or I can't control how my boss is going to react to whatever, that kind of stuff. It's wonderful that you're able to have that mindset as to doing things like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Raised well.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, you started building model remote planes, helicopters, and then you started building the drones once you got into drone racing. Now, with your company, Vanny Style, how many different kinds of drones are you guys building in a given time? And then are you, in fact, the R&D department?
Yeah, so with Vanny Style, it's a different type of brand that, a lot of the other drone brands, there's so many drone brands. So when I actually decided to create Vanny Style, it was more so because there was this demand from pilots to buy the gear that I specifically fly in. And I started designing a lot of the gear that I fly over the last couple of years versus just, buying stuff off the shelf or taking sponsorships here and there. I really wanted to dial in my setup. But in doing that, when I created Vanny Style, I wanted to make it different because I just didn't want to copy what everyone else was doing. So what's unique about Vanny Style is that when it comes to everything that's on the drone, there's just one of everything. So a lot of stores, a lot of companies, they design a dozen different, motors for the drones, a dozen different propellers, a dozen different, chassis frames. For me, it's just one because it's exactly what I fly and nothing else. So that's been my approach to Vanny Style. So right now we just have the frame, but we are releasing a bunch of electronics here in the next, couple of days actually. And, it's kept me very busy. It's been very humbling, the whole experience, building a business and a brand. And a lot of people as well, they know me from DRL, so it kind of creates this expectation that it's going to be really, really good, the product. And I like that pressure as well because, when I made my frame, I did something that no one else did, and I sent about 10 of them out to pilots all across the world and had them test them. And that's not something that you actually commonly see in the drone space. You get the product sent out for review and that's it. But, I wanted to make sure that it was going to be a great experience for everyone who purchased one with their hard-earned money. Because I remember when I was 16 years old mowing lawns every single day before going to school, and then when I got back, it's like saving up money for a month and a half or 2 months to buy a drone, and then it wasn't that good. And so I wanted to make sure that I created a product that was really like the best thing that I could possibly design. And so I'm very thankful that because it's also focused on just individual products, it allows me to do pretty much most of the management myself. My wife ships orders for me, which is great. And then we have a couple of people who come in when we're not in town who ship stuff for us. But the goal for this year, 2023, is to grow that to the point where, we take the distribution somewhere else, and then I can just focus more on, designing more products and stuff like that. But it's hard, you've heard me talk about like the racing and then the filming and then this. So it's a constant balance. And with Vanny Style, I'm in no rush to do anything amazing, with that. I don't want to try and grow it to this giant thing that I can't control. So it's just one step at a time. The focus is mainly racing and then as well filming. vanity style comes third to all that.
How do you find balance with everything? Because like you mentioned, you are married now. I imagine, if you guys are wanting to do kids later, that's obviously another thing to pile on the plate as well. How do you find balance with everything?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think I'm still finding balance with everything in my life. Oftentimes that can be really hard, especially when you're in the drone industry, especially when you're in filming specifically, because the biggest problem with filming is that there's a lot of unpredictability. Back in November, I got a phone call from a producer who asked me to fly to Germany 6 hours later for 5 weeks. So, I mean, when that stuff happens, it definitely throws predictability out the door. But the best way that we handle it is just trying to keep our schedule as clear as possible. My wife and I, my wife's a wedding coordinator, so the good news is she can enter. So for the most part, unless she's actually at a wedding, she can work remote, which is great. And I'm very thankful that she's very supportive of me in my drone profession because it's allowed this marriage to work out. And just wherever the Lord takes us is kind of where we go right now. But I think as future goes on, that's one reason why I'm trying to build up Vanny Style and also just build my whole brand as a whole, because I guess the future is a little bit unknown. But what I do know is that this drone scene it's such a big industry that's growing. I think right now it's kind of just about grinding it out, doing as much work as possible, putting my name out there, and then down the road, probably taking a couple clicks back when we want to have kids, and maybe trying to find some stability, whether that means taking less filming jobs or maybe like a different type of role when it comes to like drone racing. But the cool thing, with DRL is out of all the things I do drone-wise, we actually get a schedule months in advance. And just having a schedule and being able to plan around that makes life so much easier because we know when I'm going to be gone. We know when stuff's going to happen. With filming, it's usually a couple day notice. So it's hard. It's very hard to balance married life in that, but we're thankful that we're able to do that.
That's so amazing. Now, you touched on the future when it comes to drones and everything. What do you see the future for not only the DRL, but for drones in general?
I think if you talk about the future of what I see in drones, I think you have to actually start outside just of the racing, and you think of the practical use for drones. Like, what the cool thing about racing is, we're pushing the technology to the next level by flying these drones at 90 miles an hour through venues. We're testing the capabilities of radio frequencies and video penetration and all these stadium races, even the simulator stuff as well. I see the future of drones. I think there's going to be a huge part of the industry is going to be drone delivery services. So I think drones will be used to, fly into burning buildings that are on fire where a firefighter can't get in and make sure that there's, people that maybe need to get out and scout, make sure that if there's, in the police force, they're already starting to do this with drones very slowly, where they fly a drone into a building where there's an armed man, just to make sure he's there before they send someone in there who could possibly die. There's so many practical applications. Of course, you have the typical Amazon drone delivery, which is really not that far. I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years you could probably have your small package from Amazon get delivered or groceries from Walmart. It's crazy to think about that, but that is just the reality. The drone industry is going to be probably one of the biggest industries in the world, if it's not already getting there right now. And, that's just the industry as a whole. As far as the racing goes, I think with racing, it's going to continue to grow as this well-known sport. I mean, Melanie was just telling me that Joe Rogan was talking about it on his podcast. Like, look at this drone racing stuff. When we go to this live race in San Jose earlier this year, there's got to be like 6,000 to 7,000 people in the crowd. And this is just more people than I've ever seen before go to a drone race. And they're into it because when you see a drone race in person for the first time, whether it's virtual or whether it is the real thing, you see this and you're just in awe by what these drones are able to do, what the pilots are able to do with these drones. And it's engaging when you see a drone just slam into a gate at 90 miles an hour and explode into a million pieces, right? And the best part is no one's hurt. Because the events are very safe. The crowd's netted, the pilots are sitting in a chair. So when the drone explodes, there's no bodily harm. So, man, I see the whole drone industry skyrocketing, and I see racing. I truly do see racing becoming one of the biggest esports one of the biggest, top 10 sports within the next 10 years. It screams all the signals that it's going to do that. And that's obviously coming from a pilot, but that's coming from someone who has just seen the sport grow so much in the last couple of years, and just seeing where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Like, I know there's still people that are so hesitant and resistant about even the thought process that esports might be an Olympic sport one day. Well, drone racing will more than likely also be an Olympic sport one day because, America's not the only one with drones and drone racing in general and the amazing pilots. So, and I'm not saying it's an easy thing to pick up, but drones are far more accessible now than they were 5, obviously 10 years ago. So you're having kids that are growing up the same way you were, but with drones, and that's all they're into. That's all they want to do. And, as the technology gets better, they're going to be quieter. They're going to be faster. They're just going to be, I mean, obviously, like you said, we're looking at Amazon and Walmart delivering packages. So they're going to be able to carry more things. So I'm curious, at some point you might even have, drone racing where you have to like carry one thing from another. It's almost like a obstacle course type situation where you have to do certain things. But I do believe drones, in fact, are the future, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger before anybody even realizes it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think the best part is the future is not fully known yet with drones, and that excites me because there's always ideas that I hear about that I just never would have thought of for uses of drones, what they can do. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Ring was talking about doing a drone that will just kind of fly around your house and protect your house while you're gone. And I was like, geez, now we got drones just flying on their own around your house. I love it.
Yep, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, we have a segment on the show called Tournament of Toppings. We're trying to find the best pizza places. Now, you grew up in DFW, and now you also live in LA. So what was your favorite pizza place here, and then what is your favorite pizza place out there?
Oh, geez. I have just a terrible answer to this question, and it's going to make you guys gag. I grew up in Coppell. My dad would take me to CC's Pizza like once a week. And I know it is garbage pizza, but it is sentimental to me. And you know what? Every time I go home, I go and get a CC's Pizza buffet. So that's going to be my answer. Just to, I don't actually feel like that thing. That's CC's Pizza. And then out here in LA, that's a great question. There's so many good places for pizza in LA. I can't think of the name of this one that I go to in El Segundo, which is just down the road from where the Lightcraft office is. But I'm sure I can get the name and send it over. But it's very good. Truthfully, we've been like eating so much at home since we got to California. There haven't been that many places that I can like, thank God, this is great. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, please send that over because I obviously would love more pizza places to check out while I'm out in LA. And there's nothing wrong with CC's. My friends and I were literally just talking about CC's the other day because he took his family out there and he was remembering it as it was as a kid, and it's even better. So no, there's nothing wrong with CC's. CC's is great. Plus, you have so many options, and you can eat as much as you want. There's no limit. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. My wife, she just can't stand it. She's like, this is the worst pizza I've had. Because her parents, she grew up very healthy. Not that I didn't grow up like unhealthy, but definitely not to the same level. Like, she ate a lot of salads growing up. I didn't probably eat a green thing until I was like, married. So yeah, I think this one time she was like, this is the most like gross thing I've ever had in my life. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not gross. So that's I feel like everyone thinks it's easy. So I'm glad to hear that I'm not a lone wolf out here. Now I'm here. All people are going to want to investigate more now.
I mean, I think if CC is smart, I see a sponsorship in the future, but that's just me. I don't know. Yeah, I see the commercial writes itself. You fly a drone over, get your pizza, it brings you back to you. I mean, I'm just putting things out there in the universe.
Love it.
Now, yeah, if people wanted to find out more about DRL, find out more about you, your businesses, and get tickets for the February 4th event at the Esports Stadium, how can they do so?
Yeah, so, I mean, I would go to drl.io. That's a great place to go to get the information about the race. You can buy the tickets there, do the links there. I mean, another thing, too, is just being on social media. Follow DRL on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You can also follow my social media pages, Captain Vanover on Instagram. And, I'm posting a lot of the time, like, the links and, like, for being able to buy the tickets and stuff like that, as well as when the races are. We are so excited about this February 4th race. I'm very excited. Obviously, it's my hometown, so this has been, I think, since the day I got into DRL, I've been begging DRL to come to the DFW area for an event, and it's finally happening. So I'm almost in kind of like a zen state of mind because it's finally happening, and I can't quite believe it yet. So, but yeah, definitely get your tickets. February 4th is going to be an amazing, amazing event. The last time DRL did an esports event like this was in Las Vegas in 2019, and it was one of the most fun events I've ever been to in my life. And so I just can't wait to see what happens with this one. And obviously, you know who to root for. So I'll root for the hometown guy, even if he's temporarily living in California right now.
Hey, it's more about work than it is for pleasure. So, yeah, very much everybody come out to the DRL February 4th over at the Esports Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, and cheer on Vanover. So, Vanover, thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to see you win on February 4th.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
That's where this love began. I know that it's what they all say. Some things in life you're gonna do the hard way. And now you're moving on. And I've got so much to do.
Thank you so much to Vanover for being on the show. Again, if get your tickets now, Saturday, February 4th, over at the Esports Stadium here in Arlington, Texas. Check out Drone Racing League. As we were talking about, I mean, drones are the future. You're not getting away from them anytime soon. So go get your tickets now. Make sure you go out there and support. He's a local boy in the DFW sense, but he's a local boy. So make sure that he knows it and he hears it. Also, thank you so much to Always and Never for their song Without You, along with Artemis Funk with their song Hold It Down. Artemis Funk also has a show. It is the 4th annual Artemis Funk, and it is happening February 11th. It's going to happen at the SOMAC Movement Gym. Doors are going to be open at 7. Music is starting at 8. It's going to feature local talents and vendors. It's going to be an amazing situation. If you've never seen Artemis Funk live, you need to. There's about 15 people on stage, but it is amazing. There's so much energy. You will be dancing. You will be having the best time of your life. So again, February 11th, the 4th annual Artemis Funk. Make sure to head on over to Artemis Funk on Instagram, Facebook. They have all the info there. You can check it out. So definitely make sure to go out and do that. Also, while you're out, every Monday night is trivia night over at Dr. Jekyll's. That starts at 7 p.m. Also, every Monday is open mic comedy over at 1851. Sign up is at 7:40. Show starts at 8. And then every first Tuesday over at Blitz Lounge is karaoke night, which starts at 11 p.m. Enter for a chance to win $200. Also, every Tuesday night is comedy night over at Mavericks Bar and Grill, aka 225 Barbecue. That starts at 3 p.m. Also, every Wednesday over at Jambo's Barbecue, catch UTA Jazz Night from 5:30 to 7:30. And then right after that, head on over to Division Brewing for their trivia night. That is every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. So also make sure to go out and eat local, drink local, and go rediscover your city. Tag us and send those pictures over to us on Facebook, Arlington Citizen Media, Twitter, ATX Citizen Media. Tag us on Instagram, Arlington Citizen Media, and send those pictures the old-fashioned way. Email arlingtoncitizenmedia@gmail.com. Also go to our website, www.arlingtoncitizenmedia.com. Don't forget to subscribe and give those 5-star reviews of the Downtown at Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and also hit us on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.